She is, in fact, the gift that keeps on giving. She is Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman from Texas. We played this for you yesterday. We spent a little bit of time on it because there was a whole lot coming out of this appearance. But let's just remind you of this little clip when she started talking about the governor of Texas.
We in these hot ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now.
Governor Hot Wheels. Of course, Governor Greg Abbott of Texas is confined to a wheelchair because he suffered a cataclysmic accident in his 20s that left him paralyzed. And Jasmine Crockett, at the Human Rights Campaign Gala, decided to mock him for his disability. By the way, we've heard nothing about this from the Human Rights Campaign, because apparently if you're a Trump-loving conservative Republican and you're confined to a wheelchair and you have a disability, it's okay to mock you. It's not a violation of the ethics and morals of the Human Rights Campaign. Okay. Well, Governor Abbott, in his cheerful, happy warrior style, took to Hannity last night and responded to the fine congresswoman from his state.
Friend of mine. I take it personally when friends of mine are attacked viciously for no reason. And there's no way in hell that this woman and her ex-post is going to convince me she meant anything other than what we all believe it to be. Your reaction?
Well, Sean, is another day and another disaster by the Democrats. The reality is they have no vision, no policy. They have nothing to sell but hate. And Americans are not buying it. It's one reason why Texas is going to remain red and why Republicans are going to continue to win elections across the country. The fact, Sean, is that Texas is actually in direct contrast to what she was talking about. Texas has ranked #1 for the most new jobs in America over the past month, #1 for the most new jobs over the past year, and for several years. Texas ranks #1 for the most new economic development projects for 13 years in a row. CEOs who run businesses have ranked Texas the best state for doing business for 20 years in a row. And Texas is in the vanguard as it concerns the future of the United States, such as space exploration, such as artificial intelligence, such as semiconductors, as well as power generation. The bottom line is that Republican states like Texas are leading the way, and with comments like this by Democrats, we will just leave them in the dust in future elections.
All right. Now, he is right about the flailing Democrat Party right now, unable to get a message. And what did he say? They lack a vision. Well, let's face it. If you're Jasmine Crockett, it's kind of hard to have vision when this is your view all the time, when you're looking at things, when you have those giant sort of black widow tarantulas adhered to your eyelids. Is that, look at me, everyone. I'm Jasmine Crockett. Look at me. You're going to grab that for a short, aren't you? Aren't you, Kevin? Maybe the highest point of my broadcast career right there. Send that to the Hall of Fame. Apparently, the elder statesmen, if there are any left, the dignified ones in the Democrat Party, they picked up the phone and texted Jasmine Crockett, because no one calls anyone anymore, and said, hey, you got to clean up this mess, Jazzy. Do you think her friends call her Jazzy? And so she decided to put out a non-apology explanation that isn't really an explanation and actually riddled with lies as a statement. Here it is. Rep Jasmine said, I wasn't thinking. Well, honestly, that's all she needed to say. TLDR on the rest of this. I wasn't thinking pretty much covers it, but we'll let the good Congresswoman of Texas continue. I wasn't thinking about the governor's condition. I was thinking about the planes. Hold on a second there. She called him Governor Hot Wheels, and she says, well, I wasn't thinking about the wheelchair. I was thinking about planes. Because, when you think about an airplane, the first thing that comes to mind is wheels, right? Those flying machines immediately conjure the image of wheels. I wasn't thinking about the governor's condition. I was thinking about the planes, trains, and automobiles. Good movie, by the way. He used to transfer migrants into communities led by black mayors, deliberately stoking tension and fear among the most vulnerable. Well, at least she's conceding the fact that bringing illegal immigrants into those cities are a problem. because they're draining city resources and they're ticking off the people who live in those cities who don't get a park or don't get a school because they've been thrown out to accommodate the illegal immigrants. What she doesn't recognize or just chooses not to point out is the vast majority of illegal immigrants sent to Chicago and New York and Washington, D.C. and Boston were actually flown there by the Biden administration, not the planes, trains, and automobiles from Governor Hot Wheels. Okay, so that's her explanation. I wasn't disparaging him or saying anything negative about him because he's in a wheelchair. It was really my commentary on what he did by transferring illegal immigrants to other cities. Okay, let's remember that that's her excuse. We're gonna dive into that in just a few moments. First, though, earlier this morning on the Vince Cogliane's podcast, Donald Trump was a special guest, and the topic turned to Rep. Jasmine from Texas.
She lies, but she's a lowlife, and she's a very low IQ person. And a low life. And I don't imagine the Democrats are going to have a person like that running their party. If they do, and they'll never win an election again. It would be very hard. But I can't imagine she's going to last long.
And what do you think of Governor Gavin Newsom's?
To be smart, you do need a brain. You can't get around with little quips. And I've watched her. I've only heard of her for the last couple of days. And I watched her make a speech, and she can't speak. And she truly is a low-level person on the very important chart of intelligence.
Yeah.
And really, it's nice to have intelligent people running your operation.
Yeah, so somebody you can talk to, who you could have a good conversation with.
She was a comedian. I couldn't believe she was a congressman or whatever she is. and no, I thought she was a comedian.
It's unbelievable.
And she was sort of a little bit funny, but crude. And now I find out she's actually a politician, which the Democrats are going to suffer with this one.
Good job, Vince, on that one. Does he have a cold, by the way, the president? Did he sound a little congested? Actually, he sounded a little like he was on cold medicine. He's usually pretty sprite. Sounded a little drowsy. All right, so that's the president. Punching back on Jasmine Crockett. She's a lowlife. And on the low level of the intelligence chart, which I think is a great way of calling her stupid and scummy. So last night, our favorite, Scott, honestly, this could be a 60-minute Scott Jennings show here, which is something CNN should think about, by the way. Scott Jennings remarked on Jasmine Crockett, the new leader of the Democrat Party.
I don't know how the Democrats came to appoint Jasmine Crockett as the unquestioned leader of your party, but thank God. And I think what she should do is go on TV twice as much as she is right now, maybe 3 times as much, because every time she appears and makes one of these mistakes, says something radical, it only further divides her party from the rest of the other 80% of America who can't stand this. But the problem is there's an audience for it. I heard Jimmy Kimmel's audience cheering on Tesla vandalism. I hear the Daily Show audience cheering on attacks on Elon Musk. I hear the human rights audience cheering on an attack on a man in a wheelchair. And I realize this is what the left has become, an angry mob of people who are cheering on attacks on a guy in a wheelchair and vandalism against people who bought a Tesla. It's pathetic. No lesson could ever be learned as long as you're doing these things in front of audiences who roar when you do it. When you have comedians who are broad messengers for the left making unfair jokes and people are roaring. When you have politicians being vulgar and saying what's the lesson? What's the audience? It says a lot about the audience.
Yeah, and no, we're not going to hear what Van Jones had to say because it doesn't matter. It's just going to be whataboutism and, but Trump says this, and apparently that makes it okay, which is really probably great, actually. Hey, Jasmine Crockett is just like Trump. Okay, I thought you said Trump was Hitler. So that's your answer? That's your excuse? Okay, you want to go with that, that's fine. I don't think she's going to win a national election and clear all of the swing states and win the popular vote, but we welcome the opportunity to run against her on a presidential ticket. And make no mistake, you thought that was Scott Jennings just trolling the Democrats there, saying, I don't know how you decided that she would be your leader, but God bless you, let's bring her on. He's not trolling. I mean, just ask the aforementioned Jasmine Crockett.
Right now, we have so many people talking about who is our leader, who is our leader. Let me tell you, the person that you've been waiting for is sitting right here.
I mean, she's sitting right here. I mean, is that her way of saying that she's the leader? Is that her? Or does she mean, look in the mirror? I'm looking to the man in the mirror. Is that what this is? I don't think so. I don't think she's that sort of layered and nuanced. No, I think she thinks she's now the leader of the party. All right, so let's get back to the excuse. What was that explanation she had again? Oh, it's so good. I wasn't thinking. That's right. I wasn't thinking about the governor's condition. I was thinking about the planes, trains, and automobiles he used to transfer migrants into communities led by Black mayors. Okay, so she wasn't thinking about the fact that he was in a wheelchair when she called him Governor Hot Wheels. She was thinking about the poor illegal immigrants. Great, fine, wonderful explanation, except for that pesky thing called the internet, which, as you know, is forever. Peter Hassan, who does some reporting for the Washington Free Beacon, went back and looked at the social media habits of said Jasmine Crockett. And apparently, in 2021, well before Governor Abbott was sending illegal immigrants into Chicago or New York or Washington, D.C., there was a Facebook post that referred to Governor Abbott as Hot Wheels, and Jasmine Crockett liked that comment. So not only is she lying about the excuse, she's obviously called this man Governor Hot Wheels multiple times. This is just the first time it was caught on microphone, not accidentally, through her own hubris and arrogance. Work in the room. Not only has she lied about this, but also apparently it's not even her own original nickname. She stole it from some rando who was commenting on a Facebook post, and she liked it. Literally liked it. This woman's a disaster. It's fantastic. Even the Dallas Morning News editorial board is coming after Texas's favorite daughter. The Dallas Morning News said Crockett has made a habit of demonstrating that she can't or won't discern the kind of decorum her office should demand, and because she represents Dallas, it reflects poorly on the rest of us. You think? Now, I just saw someone in our live chat here remind me that she's not technically from Texas. She's from Missouri, which apparently, she couldn't win there because Cori Bush was such a rock-solid star. So she decided to move to Dallas. But guess what? She literally represents you, Texas. She literally represents Dallas. And so it's on you. You still want to be represented by her? You need to do something about it. You can't say, well, she's not really one of us. She's from Missouri. She's literally your representative. Let's let our very own colleague here at Town Hall Media, Katie Pavlich, have the last word on this. It's usually a good one. She was on Fox and Friends this morning.
To her comments first about the governor of Texas, how many people who are disabled does Jasmine Crockett represent? She is a congresswoman in the United States Congress. And yet she is now entered the attention economy. She's trying to not represent her people. She's trying to simply represent herself.
Well said, as always, Katie Pavlich. And I'll just finish it with this. I have an announcement to make. I am starting a super PAC, a 501c4, I believe is the right tax designation for it. I'll get all the details worked out soon. But it is a grassroots effort to raise money to recruit Jasmine Crockett to run for the Democrat nomination for President of the United States. I'll be the chairman of this entire fundraising operation, and we're going to start running ads. We're going to start a petition drive. It's going to be grassroots based. We are going to build a movement in this country to get that woman to be right where she belongs, as the standard bearer, face, voice, and eyelashes of the Democrat Party. I am going to raise millions of dollars with this venture, almost all of it coming from Republicans.